In 1989, an electrician named Carl Rees disappeared for 8 minutes in front of his wife and co-workers, and when he came back, he said he'd been gone for 3 hours. What he saw changed him forever. This is the story of Hopkinsville Timeslip, a strange incident dismissed by the government, but still whispered about in military circles. Because if Carl was lying, how did he know about a code name of a facility that wasn't declassified for 14 more years until 2003? Carl Rees was a regular guy. He lived in western Kentucky. He ran a small electrical business with a couple of workers. He drove an old Ford truck, so there was nothing interesting about him. He wasn't into anything strange. Every day, he ate the same lunch: a pimento cheese sandwich, a Mountain Dew, and 2 peanut butter cookies. Nothing about Carl screamed the mystery. He was just a hard-working man trying to get by. On June 19, Carl and his team got a job to check a relay tower near Fort Campbell, close to Hopkinsville. The land belonged to military, but Carl had worked there before. It was a simple job: go in, check the tower, get out. That morning, Carl's wife decided to tag along. She would sometimes join him on jobs to keep him company. 2 of his workers came too. They got to the site at 10:12 a.m. The sun was up, the field was quiet, and everything seemed normal. But in less than an hour, their day would turn into a nightmare. At 10:47, Carl walked behind the relay tower to check a wire. His team stayed in front, waiting for him to come back. But he didn't. They called his name, no answer. They walked around the tower, but Carl was gone. The field was wide open. No trees, no buildings, nowhere to hide. It was like he'd vanished into thin air. His wife started to freak out. She thought he might have fallen or gotten hurt. Even his workers called the military base for the help. They reported Carl as a missing person. Fort Campbell sent out a team, thinking maybe he'd passed out from the heat. But at 11:03, just 8 minutes later, Carl walked out from behind the tower. He was pale, sweating, and looked scared to death. His eyes were wide, like he'd seen something awful. His wife ran to him, but he could barely speak. Then they noticed his watch. It said 2:03 p.m. 3 hours ahead. Carl swore he'd been gone for 3 hours, not 8 minutes. So, where did he go? What he saw next, it's straight out of a horror movie. Carl said he felt a buzz in the air, like a static, and heard a high-pitched hum. The air shimmered, like heat coming off the road. Then, in a blink, he was somewhere else. A cold, concrete hallway with yellow lights. The silence was heavy, like the air was swallowing sound. He walked, and his footsteps barely making a noise, until he saw a steel door. The door he saw had a black panel. He touched it, and the door clicked open. Inside was a room full of old tech. Screens, dials, machines, all humming. And then he realized that he wasn't alone. 2 men in lab coats just stood there, standing in front of him, staring at him. One of them held a small potted plant, like he'd been moving it. They didn't look surprised, which was really weird. They looked like they knew him. Carl didn't know what to say. The man wrote something down, then pulled out a small metal disc and slid it across the table. It was warm. When Carl picked it up, the air got heavy, like he was underwater. The screens in the room started to flicker. A faint voice came from the screens, whispering, "Not yet." Then one of them touched the button on the wall, and hum started being louder. Carl felt like his body was being pulled apart. He heard a voice saying he can't stay, and then he was back. Carl woke up behind the relay tower, like he never left. But his watch said he's been gone for 3 hours. What he saw on those screens, it was something he shouldn't have known. That night, Carl wrote down everything. 11 pages. He gave copies to his wife and his pastor. Years later, in 2006, his wife gave all those notes to a journalist. That journalist found things that didn't add up. Carl wrote a paragraph about something called Project Gateway. He also mentioned a number he saw on the floor. It was 43-19-7221, which didn't make any sense. In 2003, declassified military files named Project Gateway a secret program. It was testing time and energy field, and that number, it was tied to a project called J-Transit in 1991 budget report. Carl knew about this 14 years before it was public. He wasn't a scientist. He didn't work for the military. He was just an electrician. Carl's life fell apart after that day. He moved away, and his wife left him in 1992 due to the complications in their relationship. She said he wasn't the same. He covered all the mirrors, said they were doors. Carl died in 2011, alone in the hospital. His records talk about nightmares, red hallways, no windows, and people with no faces. Whatever Carl saw, it haunted him for the rest of his life. The government said Carl had a heat stroke, that he made it all up. But then why did two men in suits question his co-workers a week later? Why was the relay tower torn down in less than a month? And why did Project Gateway disappear from the military budget the next year? If Carl was wrong, how did he know about the secret project years before it was released? So what really happened to Carl Reese? Did he step into a time experiment? Or was it all in his head? And if mirrors are doors, like Carl said, what's on the other side? The Hopkinsville time slip is still a mystery. Maybe the truth is waiting for someone else to step through.